Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular the AWD 1111.NET Framework with Web Databases class, I have first created a series of about, 175, let's say, presentations. Here we go, let's do this. There we go. 176 videos. So if you go out to right here, let me move this down a little bit. If you go out to right there, you will find my YouTube channel. Alright, and that is my YouTube playlist for the AWD 1111 class. I'm just going to leave it sit there for a minute. Alright. If you say that's too much work, then all you have to do is go out, and I mean, if you're watching this, you found it anyway, but just Google, or not Google, but do a search inside of YouTube for Jeff Scott Rankin Technical College. I don't want to get off on that tangent too much. All right, so what I'm doing in here is I'm going through a series of articles by a really nice website that I found that is called .netcurry.com. All right, I went in there and went underneath the tutorials to the MVC. They've got 147 MVC tutorials that have been read by over 15 million people, including what I've already gone over, the history of ASP.NET Part 1, the history of ASP.NET Part 2, and I've done presentations on both those, and the one I'm going to do right now, which is the history of ASP.NET Part 3, covers ASP.NET Core. So again, a lot of good articles in here. I'm starting to look at this business applications using HTML5, ASP.NET MVC, Web API, and Knockout.js Parts 1 and 2. And there's a lot of stuff in here. With 147 articles, as you'd imagine, there's a lot to read through. All right. So I'm up to Part 3 here. It says in the third and final part of the ASP.NET Evolution series, we will see ASP.NET transition to ASP.NET Core, an open source cross-platform that fully embraces the nature of the web. All right, so where have we come from? Well, started 17 years ago in 2002 with version 1 of this. As it says, it was initially designed to provide a better web platform than ASP and ActiveX. All right, so in other words, it was meant kind of to be the marriage of ASP, which is Active Server Pages, and the .NET Framework. All right, so we've gone over parts 1 and 2 already. It says, through these tutorials, we have seen ASP.NET evolve over the years and basically be able to react, all right, to what's going on. In this last article, the author says, we'll take a look at the last step, one that finished the transition from a closed platform that tried to hide and abstract the web into an open source platform that fully embraces the nature of the web. So, as it says there, 2014 through today. All right, and they go through, different, the fact that this naming thing and Project Katana, etc. I'm not going to run through any of that. All right. The author says, looking back, it's easy to see the ASP.NET team testing the direction and gaining knowledge before embarking on this core journey that they're working on now. All right. When you look at some of this stuff, when I look at this, all right, it says around the same time Scott Hanselman posted this blog about vNext. He showed the new runtime in action, highlighted how NuGet was used to manage all dependencies, gave us a glimpse of the project.json file. This is JSON. All right. So again, they're writing about the transition, what has happened through here. All right. ASP.NET shipped as part of the .NET framework since 2002. All right. Over time, it evolved so that in the mid 2000s to 2007 or 8, MVC was added. Notice web pages were added in 2010. All right, everything was built on top of everything else. But the idea, again, one of the reasons, in my humble opinion, that this has been able to survive, all right, is the fact that in many ways, Microsoft has been able to adjust as the market has adjusted. As the market has become more client heavy, server light in some ways, so is their software. All right, the author says these are new. The whole .NET Core concept is new. All right, the .NET Core 1.0 CLI is very new. Not only that, .NET Core isn't as complete as the full .NET framework, so they're still building on it. ASP.NET Core 1.0 was finally released in late June 2016. Took more than 2 years of development. And as Microsoft said, hopefully everybody will be happy. New lightweight platform, modular, fast, etc. Now, it says creating a web app is very similar to an MVC Web API app. This doesn't look that different. Its corresponding index.cs HTML using Razor also appeared familiar. All right. But it said it started talking about one of the main changes in views, those being tag helpers. Once one started scratching the surface, the differences became evident. So this is the quote new stuff, unquote. First, the new request pipeline is based on middleware functions. I always looked at middleware as kind of being a go-between hardware and software. All right? Not everybody would agree with that. All right? And there's I'm not going to bring it up, but we could bring up middleware in Wikipedia or whatever, and it would have a different definition. Common functionality like authentication. We've talked about authentication versus authorization, but authentication is implemented as a middleware. Developers can easily create and register their own middleware. This way, a pipeline is defined in which the request flows through different middleware until it reaches a routing middleware that delegates the controller action. That's assuming the traditional MVC model is being used. Replacing routing with something simpler that's created by the end user is straightforward. So again, I just kind of look at this as, again, this is Microsoft trying to adapt, all right, to what the industry is doing. Looking past the middleware concept, we also had a dependency injection framework built in and a dependency inversion pattern applied throughout the framework. We've talked about dependency injection in other lectures. Some of the most, some of the most immediate obvious improvements were additions to Razor for creating cleaner views. That's the tag helpers and the view components. And again, if you want articles on these, you can just click the links. These replace the old MVC HTML helpers and partial views. It says check out some of my earlier articles to see how these are used to create cleaner views. So my guess is over time, all right, that if the if the AWD 1111 class remains an ASP.NET class, which I would think it would for at least the immediate future, we're probably going to move toward this. All right. In November 2016, 1.1.0 was released. And then now, starting in 2017, ASP.NET Core 2.0 was released. Notice one of the biggest features was the inclusion of Razor pages. It says, which in a way brings back the controller pattern. You know, it's kind of funny. If you listen to my lectures long enough, probably have heard this in another lecture. But I'll always remember many years ago, I was cleaning out my closet and I would put a bunch of stuff together I was going to throw out. And my wife said, "What are you doing with that tie?" And I said, "I'm going to throw it out." And she said, "What's wrong with it?" I said, "It's a thin tie, and thin ties aren't in anymore." She said, "Just keep it. Put it in the back of your closet. They'll come back into fashion again, you know, at another time." Because in many ways, everything is cyclical. And to say that Razor Pages, in a way, brings back the page controller is saying the same thing. But it's a new and improved version. This time there is no forms abstraction. Instead, we are fully in control of the HTTP requests and the generated HTML. Now, you may look at this and say, I don't see where this is really any easier. All right. I mean, I look at this, and to me it looks like almost like straight HTML with the addition that you could say of a Bootstrap class. All right. We've also got an ASP in there. Alongside its code behind file, we're implementing a page file. And as the author says, yes, we got back to code behind. This adds to the framework the possibility of using not MVC, but MVVM. As it says, you can mix and match that with a traditional MVC approach. With the MVVM, I mean, notice what's missing. M model, V view, M model. All right? You say, well, there's no controller. Okay? The model and the view still do pretty much the same thing, but the view model kind of becomes the controller or the go-between the model and the view. Looking ahead here, the author says we can see two exciting features in the imminent release of .NET Core 3.0. First, support for Windows applications will be added. Second, the experimental Blazor framework will partially ship. Plus performance and other kinds of improvements. So, as the author mentions here in the conclusion, 17 years is a long time. During this time, ASP has gone from its initial launch and problems to a lot of reinvention, as it says, is one of the fastest servers available. Along the way, a closed source Microsoft product has become an open source product. All right. Hopefully that helped. It brought a little bit of information that you didn't have before. And if not, sorry about that.